Good morning. It's 4 a.m. The coffee's hot and delicious. How are you? How are your holidays? How are you surviving? What's going on? I just want to chit chat. Oh, first of all, let's warm up. Ooh. I wanted to see how your holidays were because we were sick throughout the Christmas break, and so we just stayed home trying to recover, trying to get better with the boogies. Right after our last episode in December was also Paisley's birthday, so we went on to Dollywood, went to a trip. So we were away, busy, went on a trip, and then got sick. So we got back, there was lots of laundry, lots of boogies, and we just stayed home. And by that point, it was too late to order things from Amazon even. And so we had these last minute gifts. We had some gifts for the kids that we had gotten earlier, but my husband and I, we kind of didn't get a chance to get each other gifts. So we got small things, and actually one of the most meaningful gifts to me was we got these canvases that I want to get our kids' footsteps on, and Ezzy just started walking, so I can't wait to get them painted, put them on the wall. So I'm really excited about that gift. But it was a $12 gift, you know what I mean? Big canvas, but I'm excited about it. But then I spent a lot of time just getting better, being in here, kind of in the home space. And then after a few days, after the holidays, I started kind of scrolling through social media. And I was just really surprised to see how many gifts people were doing. We had a small Christmas, but I honestly believe, especially for little kids, that Christmas presents should be small, especially for babies. They love unwrapping stuff. But they need time and patience to look at a gift, play with it. Even kids, they uncover a gift and they look forward to it. They want to play with it. Something we saw last year is when we had grandparents over, they're like, hey, now open this one, not intentionally, right? It's the excitement of Christmas. It's open the gift, say thank you, open the gift, say thank you. And I just think it puts so much pressure, I think, for adults, right? If you're at a party and it's your birthday party, whatever, and everyone's waiting, all eyes are on you, it's a little, anxiety filled. And I think it is so much so for kids, right? Because they learn so much from nonverbal cues. So they're just watching people's reactions, right? And we kind of made it a thing of okay, let's do our own private Christmas first, open some gifts, and then a parent's Christmas later, just to separate and give our kids time to breathe. But back to babies don't need a lot of gifts, right? If you wrap up a Tupperware lid, they're gonna be so excited. If you have a puzzle and you can wrap each piece, it's farm puzzle and there's a couple animals, wrap those up, they're gonna be so excited to open that. And even more so if you can gift your time and sit there with them on the floor for an hour, just moo, meow, whatever. They would love that so much. Your kids love spending time with you. And with kids, same thing, they're a little bit bigger, and so if you started with a lot of gifts, they kind of expect it, right? And so it's great to get gifts. And if you have the money to get so many gifts, it's your money. Spend it how you want to. I just want to make sure, holidays are for the family. And so if you had a small Christmas, I hope you're not comparing yourself to some of the things that you're seeing out there online, because it got me in a place where I just started scrolling and I'm is this for real? Because some of the things I saw were just so many. There's one video of somebody swimming, pretending to swim in the gift presents and the wraps, and it's man, I'm glad you guys are so financially well off. But I got into a place where I was comparing for a second, right? And I was wait, that's their family, this is my family, however, you know what I mean? And so if you were in a place where man, I'm not doing that, I hope you're not comparing yourself to those families or those things, because it's your family, you know what I mean? You guys do your thing, have one gift. I saw something about 4 gifts, right? Oh, I think my husband told me this. It's you do 4 gifts, right? So something to learn, something to read, something to play with, and then one another useful thing, which I absolutely love, right? Especially for kids. Not for anybody, if you get a really nice book, ooh, that's great, right? A tool, I love getting kitchen tools. My mother-in-law is so sweet. Just one of the sweetest, most caring people ever. And so she shows her way, she shows her love in these really sweet ways of there's this squash rice dish that I really love. And so she's like, hey, I'll bring it over, you know. And, you know, I was talking about these like kitchen towels. She's like, oh, I really, brought these over. I was talking about doing more recipe videos. And I was setting up the site and I was like, hey, I want to do like a board, a little blue towel, like a little gold fork or spoon next to it, right? And so she went out, she got those things, and she just listens and, you know, pays attention and gives things in such a sweet way. And so I thought that was so sweet. Let's see, what was I talking about? Gifts. Not comparing ourselves to other families, because there's just too much going on with that. How did I get on Grandma Coco? Because she got me a really nice gift. I do love getting Christmas. Oh, right, because it's something useful. I love that, right? And so and I can use these things like in the kitchen and the things. Again, oh, you know what happened? You ever get yourself on like the other side of algorithm where you're like, wait, I'm in a very different tax bracket. Because sometimes that happens. Usually I kind of stay along, you know, my things, and then sometimes I'll make it to a very rich side of Instagram, where I was this mom who bought her baby a Birkin bag, and then recently I learned like for a Birkin you have to get like invited to get it or something. They're extremely expensive, you know. They can go up to like $40,000 or $50,000, and you can buy a house for that, like in Florida, you know what I mean? Like it's Florida, I love Florida, but and probably in other places too, you can buy a home for that. But that's a lot to gift to a baby. And again, if it's their money, right? So it's like if they have it and they have that stuff, of course we all want to like pour love into our kids. And a lot of us, you know, things that we didn't have as kids, we want to provide those things for our kids. So I totally understand that. But just to wrap up my point of, I hope through that holiday season, the real meaning of holidays didn't get lost, right? About just spending time with our loved ones. And I got a lot of cooking, not a lot of cooking stuff, but I got like a sheet pan and some towels and like forks. And so I'm like, hey, I get to make food for my family with this. We get to eat. You guys, right now, things are so expensive. Things are so expensive. And if you've got toddlers, you know you're spending all of your money on berries. You know what I mean? Like you are just paying it out to the blueberry farms right now. Things are so expensive. You guys, we gotta be like, and it's important, right? Because like Christmas, holidays, birthdays, of course we want to spend a little extra money, but I promise you, if spending too much money on things is going to cause you stress, I promise you your kid would rather have you spend less money and have the happier, freer, more available version of you than one that is stressing. And then again, right, it's like for kids, we want to do everything. So yes, we'll take an extra shift, we'll do it. Because we want to work extra for our kids, and we should, because we should show up extra for our kids because they're watching, and they're watching all the time. But just when it comes to that comparison, I hope we can move past it. You know what I was thinking the other day? I was trying to figure out like where this comparison kind of comes from. And I don't know if this is true for others, but something that I realized, I think, when I was younger is I saw comparison and heard comparison all the time, right? So it's like, well, that kid isn't screaming, or that kid isn't, well, they're doing this, well, so-and-so is doing this. And so I think what was meant to be like a parental way of guiding us towards, you know, better characteristics or behaving ourselves better kind of turns into us really comparing ourselves to others, right? And then I think it happens a lot in schools as well, right? Because you get in different cliques and maybe there's bullying that's going on around too. I was bullied a lot, and so I have a lot of like little insecurities that I'm still trying to work past. I think it's important to note just for ourselves as we're raising kids, right? To try to eliminate that comparison, because if we compare our kids to others, they will learn to compare themselves to others, and they don't need to, you know. Our kids are so cool and wonderful, and they have their own ideas, and right. That also made me another thing I was kind of thinking of about how I think like babies and kids, I think babies and kids learn to talk from verbal routines, right? So it's like the things that we most often say, they're gonna pick up. And that's, goes side to side with please and thank yous. If you say please and thank you to your kid all the time and to your partners, right? Or, mother-in-law, whoever's around, they will learn because they watch not only how you interact with them, but they watch how you interact with others, right? And so if you say please and thank yous all the time, they will also learn to say please and thank you. If they see you, if you're frustrated and you say a certain word all the time or in a certain expression, they're going to learn that too. Because there's the whole thing of like, you might have already seen it's where scientists say, hey, it takes 400 times to learn a thing and create like a new brainwave, although it takes only 20 if you do it through play and do it through a really fun way. And so I think that's how kids learn, from verbal routines, right? Things that we say often, because if we say something 400 times, they're really going to understand it and remember it, right? And that got me down the path of like, I think the common thing of when babies learn to talk, they're always, they might say dada first. And I was thinking about it, and I don't know if this is true, but I was thinking like for our family, for like a mom-dad family, let's say if the mom is the default parent staying at home perhaps, or working at home, if she's holding the baby and whatever dad appears, right, probably saying dada, dada. So each time the person appears, the name is also given to it. And so a kid can pick up dada all the time because it's said so much more frequently, which isn't always true, right? There's certain sounds that they're just gonna say first or repeat. My son said dog, dog first. He loves dog, dog, because whenever my dog Ziva would run into the room, we'd say dog, dog. And I was also thinking, there's this way to help your baby learn to say mama or sister or whatever name, but it's essentially taking peekaboo, and then when you appear, you say the name, and you can help your kids say mama the same way, where it's like if you have a door, if you open it, say mama, so they hear, oh, each time that sound is made, my mom appears, that's got to be it, right? So connecting those things. And so I wonder if that has anything to do with those first words, right? So it's like if babies learn from things we say the most, right? And that's why the whole like learn to talk, it's repeating and naming things in a really playful way to make kids understand, right? Taking one thing and then adding it to another to like create connections, right? Because with my baby, he's almost 1. Well, he's 10 months old, but it's wild how big he's growing. He just started walking and he's starting to say some words, right? And so he knows dog, dog, he knows dad, 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 he knows mom, 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 sis, sis, to the people, right? So he knows the family. And then we're starting to make connections, right? Because we always do open, close. He's totally all about the kitchen cabinets right now, right? They love to explore the kitchen cabinets. Wrap up your kitchen cabinet for your babies for Christmas, you know what I mean? Like put a bow on it. They're gonna love that. And so each time he opens it, open, close, right? We name it open, close. And so the other day, we had come up the stairs, had the gate, and then my dog was coming up the stairs. And so we said, dog, dog up. And then we have the gate, so we said, gate open, dog in, gate closed. Hi, dog. Hi, Ezzy. And then he goes, he waves when we say hi, Ezzy. But I try to use the small words, right, to make that connection, because it starts with one word, and then you put these other ones in, and he understood those really small sentences, and he was so excited, right? Because to be able to understand something, gosh, it's almost a privilege, right? It's like if you want to know what your baby or toddler is experiencing, travel to another country where they do speak a foreign language, and not being able to express your basic needs or what you want or fully express yourself is extremely, extremely difficult. And so when our babies are able to understand something or see something familiar, right, they get so excited. They get so excited because it feels good to understand, right? You're like, I'm getting this, yay! And so it's so cool to watch his learning and really soak it all in. And it's just wild how fast it's, moves and goes. But that's another thing I'm working on this idea for like a baby learning thing, something that I'm doing with Izzy, but I'd love to do it either for Paisley's Corner or like a separate series. But like, I think there's a way to teach your babies to talk. You can do probably 100 words in 100 days and they would totally get it, instead of like naming everything as we go along, which can get a little bit tiring. We're trying to focus on one word at a time, right? So we started with dog. Each time we see dog, 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 right? And then the next day, okay, open. Anytime you open anything, you just name it. Open, open. They're gonna get it. In, where he loves this, he's putting sticks in a can, right? Because they can hear the drop. It has a little tingle to it. It's from one place to another, right? Babies love A to B activities, right? Take this thing here, take this thing here, and peel it, right? So like A to B, really short activities. And in a can, he's able to put it in, right? And then we put Paisley, I love this activity too, but I have this lid with a hole in it for that can. And so first he was going full big diameter, right? Just like, wow, in, he got it. And each time we made a sound, it was the drop, we named it. Like, he really understood it. And babies love that thing, they can focus on it. And then put the lid on, and now he's got to go through a small diameter, right? So it's like hand-eye coordination. I love watching babies focus, right? So he's like, and first it's going all over the lid, right? Like this is all over the map. And then he gets it in and he's so excited and he's doing it again, putting it in. It's a great activity if you've got a baby. You just need a can, some sticks, some like craft sticks, straws, Q-tips. But wooden sticks like craft sticks make that ding when they hit, and I think babies like that, they love dropping things. But I was thinking, like, he's growing so fast, and then Paisley had just turned 4, and I was thinking about how I think I love spending time with my kids, so much so that I try to hurry things like doing the dishes, or like I put off my work at nighttime or morning time, because I constantly feel like I'm running out of time with them. I think before I had both my kids, I think when I was just first pregnant with Paisley, I saw this graph where it's like, amount of hugs we get versus time that goes by. And it's like, the graph is this way, right? Because we start out getting so many hugs from our kids, we hold them. And then it's less. So each day, there's less time to get a hug from your kid. And that just absolutely kills me inside. And so I think I often have this anxiety where I want to make sure I get the most of the day in, because I know I will never get that day again. And with kids, it just goes by so fast. I know day in, day out, it's like, it feels almost mundane, right? It's like I'm doing the same thing, but then you look back and it's like, whoa, how much has changed, right? So with my daughter, she just turned 4, and I was thinking, like, when she was a baby, right? Like, that was her baby version of her. And when she turned 1, I thought, wow, now I got a 1-year-old, which is so exciting, so many things to look forward to. But I'll never be able to hold my baby Paisley again, right? Like, that was it, that we closed that chapter. And then she was 1, and I loved 1. I loved 1 so much. And then she turned 2, and I thought, oh, I can't wait for all the things we're gonna do at 2. But that was it. That was my last chapter, of having her as a 1-year-old. And I loved to. So you guys, I love to. I think toddlers just want to explore and learn, and they're so curious, and I want to feed, I want to water that curiosity. And she was 2, and then she had a 3rd birthday, and I'm like, I'm so excited for the 3, but I want to make sure I give it time. That was it. That's all I get with my 2-year-old. Then I had the 3-year-old, and she just turned 4. And so I feel like I only get my daughter that one version of her for a year. So it's like you only get 1 winter, 1 spring, 1 summer, 1 fall of that version, to soak it all in. And then you move on, there's more and bigger things. And I need to let go of that a little bit, because I'm so nervous about missing time with them. It got me to a place where I did put myself on the back burner a lot, I went through a stage where I was like, not taking care of myself, right? So not showering, I was in sweatpants, repeat like for a week, for 2 weeks. I gotta switch my laundry, actually. But I really put myself on back burner, and I need to even that out, right? I want to give the time to my kids, but I also want to make sure that I give time to me, not only for me and water myself, but even in the motherhood role of my kids are looking at me for an example. I want to make sure my daughter has an example of somebody who knows how to be a great mom and be at home and be helpful and spend time with her and do these fun things, but also knows how to work and be on time, be committed, be accountable, be responsible, and works hard, you know? And so I think between that's figuring out, you know, I want to do this for me. I want to do this for as a good example for my kids. And so I want to do this more, you know? I want to be more present with them, with myself. See, I had a couple of notes that I wanted to like just chit chat. Okay, so holidays, man, holidays get so much stuff too, especially with the social media. Like, because I'm already, you know what, actually in December, I remember I saw the first, let's set up for Valentine's Day in December, and I thought, whoa, man. Like, I remember with like big stores, right? You'd start seeing those commercials of like, get your holiday shopping, back to school sale, right? But it wasn't so in your face. But now, since it's like the influencers and content creators are making content about the holidays, like they're a quarter ahead, right? So it's like we're starting to see all the next holiday things 2 months, 3 months early on our phone every single day. And I think I almost got tired of Christmas before it even happened, because I saw so many Christmas things, I think in October already, right? It's like, man, you know, holidays. It's just so much that goes into them. But it doesn't have to be. Like, you know what, I think I love following content creators who do like a really cute, hey, this is a really cute way to set up your dining room table. I'm like, yeah, I love that. But sometimes I forget, you know, they're running a business too. And so they'll go and buy new things just to create a new setup, right? Like that's their job. But I'm so easily persuaded. And each time I see a new thing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get that. That's cute. Oh my gosh, I want to get that. So now I just have these like bins of random decorative stuff. And so I need to unfollow some things just for my own freedom, right? There's a whole thing about what do we consume? Oh, it's like you are what you eat, right? So it's like, oh, this is our feed. We're consuming this information and it looks great, right? So you're like, oh, I want this and I want this and I want that. You know what else I want to do? I constantly go in my closet and I'm like, I have nothing to wear. My closet's full. But I wear the same sweatpants. I put pants on today. I put jeans on. But I'm like, I have nothing. And so, but what I want to do is, okay, every day I'm going to pick something from my outfit, from my closet. Okay, pick something from my closet, wear it. And if I really don't love it, it's time to get rid of it. But if I do like it, let's put it back in the closet, maybe flip the hanger, right, once it's washed, so I know I already wore it, but no repeats, right? Let's try an outfit a day from my closet, no repeats. Because if I have the clothes, I need to be wearing them. If I'm not wearing them, I really need to let them go. But I'm tired of going in saying I have nothing to wear when I know I have stuff to wear, you know? Like I feel like I'm ungrateful in that way where I'm like, wait, no, I'm so thankful to have clothes, you guys. I came from having no clothes. I came from having no food. And so I'm so thankful for all the clothes. I'm so thankful to wash all the dishes, right? Because like, hey, my family can eat, I can eat today. That's freaking amazing. But yeah, maybe start a little like less overconsumption, a little underconsumption. You know, I say that now, but I bet tomorrow I'm gonna be like, oh, I need to get this other thing. I also have paralysis, analysis, paralysis. I feel like even for this, right, I'm like, oh, this is literally what I did. I was like, do I put the hats here? Here's my little shelf. I was like, oh, do I have a shelf or do I have a plant? I have this bookshelf. I'm like, do I put the bookshelf? I've moved this bookshelf 3 times. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to get a different tripod. Maybe I need to get a different light, and that's will make it better. And so I'm like, I keep waiting. I'm like, well, once I get this, I can do it. Well, once I get this, I can do it. Well, once I get this, I can do it. But I haven't, I keep getting the thing, but I'm not starting it. And so I want to be like, hey, let's change some things, right? Like if I think that kids need 400 times repetition of something to learn something, I guess so do adults, because I need to stick to this and repeat this to myself 400 times that I just gotta do it, right? I gotta build new habits, and I gotta do it over and over again. We also started learning a lot about the Bible. Paisley's diving into it so deep. She's so hooked on it. But she likes a little drama, When she was 2, she really liked 3 little kittens, and then when they lost their mints, they couldn't find them, That was the drama for her at the time. And then we played 3 little kittens for so long. We got these mints and we would hide them around the house. By the way, if you have kids, hide and seek is the game to go all the time. You don't have to hide an object. So you can hide, if you have cotton at home, right? You can hide a cotton. Hey, where's cotton hiding? Let's go, and they can look for it. They'll probably play with you. Or 3 little kittens, we hid these mittens and try to find them all the time. Any toy, you can just hide and be like, hey, where are they hiding? If you're doing animals, they'll do animal sounds. You can kind of challenge and change it. Anyway, so Pepe liked that drama. And when we were learning, hands are not for hitting, I'm always careful about what I show, because I don't want to model the wrong things, because kids learn from what they see. And so I didn't want to show anybody hitting. Plus we were so like, we haven't gone through that stage. And so I didn't want to show something to my daughter that she hasn't seen before. So I wouldn't start it for anybody, right? I don't want to set a bad example for kids. I know they copy what they see. And so I always try, hey, what are the things I can show so they understand the point? So I use these toys, it's like Pink Baby and Blue Baby, they kind of hit. And I still don't love that it showed, right? Anyways, but that was so much drama for her. She was like, oh, what happened, right? It was like, so she likes a little drama. So in the Bible, there's a lot of drama, and we're talking about it in kid things, right? So we're explaining there's, friendly, unfriendly people, but we've always been very honest with her. So with the Bible, we're also being very honest, but everything's just G-rated. And so, but she's loving it, right? She's loving it. And so we've been talking a lot about God, and we're watching Superbook and Yippee if you've got it. Although it is for older kids, right? So we watch it supervising, we gotta maybe skip some parts, but we're learning the stories, we're reading the Bible for kids, right? And so we're going through all these stories, and we were talking about something last night, but she's like, so how does God, we were talking about prayers, and if we ever needed to ask God for help. And so she's like, so how does that all, happen? And we started talking, and I'd mentioned to her, God, when we pray and ask God for strength, God doesn't give us muscles, right? He gives us opportunities to get strong. And usually the opportunities to make you strong are very difficult. And so we have to go through these challenging things to get stronger. And same with patience, right? If you ask God for patience, He's not going to just give you patience. He's going to give you opportunities to learn how to be patient. But opportunities that teach you how to be patient are often extremely frustrating, right? Because they have to force you to stretch your own personal patience, where you got to wait a little bit more, you got to wait a little bit more, and you got to wait a little bit more. And you, maybe from, previous experience, you want to snap, you want to be done. But it's like, right? So, but that's the only way we learn, is by practicing, right? Our kids got to practice, we got to practice. And so I was thinking more about it, right? Because I know I've prayed for certain things from God. Strength's definitely been one of them, patience been one of them. And now thinking about it, in this retrospect, where I'm like, oh, well, in a backwards way, I was kind of saying, hey, God, can you provide me with all these opportunities that are going to be really difficult to get through so I can be stronger? And God's like, yeah, sure, why not, And so I think it's just a great way, well, to teach our kids and to remind myself, right? It's like, just because we ask for something doesn't mean we get it, right? It's not like it's not a Christmas holiday where you just like send in. It's a skill and a characteristic that you're working on. It's a habit that you're working on, and that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to build a habit. But I just think that's so interesting. I was also thinking of, how when you're changing your baby's diaper, right, and they're just like wiggling around, and you're like, hey, if you would just hold still, this could go so much faster and so much cleaner for everybody included, right? But the baby wants to move, and you're like, all right, like this is the way you want to do it. That's what we just gotta do. Or even if your kid, right, when they're older, if you're trying to help them get dressed, but they want to do it, so they're helping, but it's actually kind of tangling things up even more. And as a parent, you just watch, you're like, hey, if you just hold still, stay patient with me, stay calm, I could really help you in this situation. But okay, you want to do it your way, let's just do it this way. I wonder if God looks at us the same way, where he's like, hey, if you just trust me and kind of stay calm in this, I know this will be a lot better. But all right, if you want to do this your way, go ahead and try. Because I think sometimes I'm like, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And then each time I come back, I'm like, oh, maybe all along, if I just stayed a little more patient, stayed a little more calm, perhaps I could hear God's voice more over my own plan, trying to decide for things. But I thought that was so interesting, looking at it from the perspective of parenthood over our kids. And what does that look like with the relationship, if God's our Father, right? So he would be our parent, watching over us, loving us unconditionally, always forgiving us, right? I just think it's interesting to kind of notice it. All right, I've been chitting and I've been chatting. Another thing I find interesting, and if you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. But something that I find super helpful with kids, partners, honestly anybody. I read about this in high school, and it was a book about communication. It talked about how different people like to communicate differently. We talked about how often, like maybe boyfriend, girlfriend, or like wife and husband, maybe it was just partners. But if you have like a conflict that you need to come to a resolution to in a peaceful way, one of the best places to have a conversation like that is in the car, because you're side by side with something to do. So it doesn't feel so confrontational, right? It's like we're both here, we're at peace, we're buckled up, So great ways to have communication. I think in that aspect, talking about how, like for men, if they're driving, they can chit chat and drive at the same time, and they can actually like listen, and it all goes in. But it doesn't feel confrontational. So it talked about like men to women, best talk to the side. It talked about how woman to woman really love talking face to face. And I think it's true for me, because with my girls, I'm like, I was thinking like, well, with my girls, I haven't talked to like friends or like been with, it's just been such mommy motherhood time. But when I was out with all my girlfriends all the time, I did love that face-to-face communication, right? So it's like, give me the details. I want to see what's going on. I want to see if you light up. I want to see if I want to know all of it. I'm so sucked in. I love doing face-to-face. But I do agree that like even with my husband, side-to-side communication makes things feel less confrontational. It's just like, a little more casual. So there's a little bit more ease to it. I think when you are having a difficult conversation, having that ease just helps a little bit. All of this into, I think side-to-side communication is one of the best ways to teach our kids. And something that I've done with Paisley all the time, and now I do with Ezra as well, but it takes away the like, hey, I'm telling you what to do, I'm in front of you, this is what you need to do, to, hey, we're spending time together. Usually we do this during an activity or cooking, right? So it's like you're already doing something with your hands. And I think there's been studies done that if you're like just doodling, doing something with your hands, right? Sewing, picking up stuff, we absorb information a little bit better. And so I think it works perfectly with kids because they're working, you're working. So we like to do this with an activity. Hey, let's paint. And then we'll just chit chat about something on the side. And she just absorbs it so easily. Like she just, it's effortless. And so I wanted to mention to try side-to-side communication with your kids and with your partner, or parents, whoever it is. But sometimes I haven't thought about it prior to that, but it does make such a difference, right? And I think in the book it talked about male to female versus female to female communication, but I don't think it necessarily matters of the gender. It's more of like, hey, maybe it's figuring out, oh, I like this style of communication. What does this person like? Because if your style of communication is face-to-face, but maybe they feel a little more confrontational from that, right? It's like if you feel in conflict, and most often if you grew up in a really chaotic childhood, you go into freeze or flight already. And when we're in freeze or flight, we can't hear, right? It's like, yes, you might hear words, but you're thinking about how do I get out of this situation? And you can see this in toddlers, because if it comes to a point where somebody's raising their voice, a child will often feel and go into freeze or flight. And so at that point, they can't really learn anything new. They feel scared, will often start crying because they're trying to feel safe. They're trying like, hey, I'm crying. Can you make me feel better so I know I didn't lose your love, on a very deeper level. And so it's learning. I think it's important to ask her, if it's for your partner, hey, how was your childhood? First of all, how are things handled? How do you handle things now? Because I think, right, kids who had to go and spend time alone or shut out, for me personally, I tend to deal that way with problems now as an adult, where I feel like, hey, if there's an issue, I need to go and separate myself and be alone, right? And so learning, hey, what is your partner? How did they grow up? What's the best style of communication? And then when it comes to having children with your partner, right, talking about, hey, also how you grew up, what worked, what didn't, what did you love, what didn't you love, what can we work on together? Because once we become parents, there's so much that happens where we're like, oh, with certain things we do start understand a little bit more from what our parents did, like what decisions they made. And then there's certain things that become super triggering. We're like, oh, I can't believe they did that. Now I am in this position, right? Although it's always hard to see perspective, right? I think generation ago, things were a lot harder. They didn't have ChatGPT, I just learned that you could go into your fridge, tell ChatGPT, hey, I have a pound of beef, a couple of tomatoes, and a lemon in my fridge. What can I do with this? And I'll give you a little recipe, so we're not wasting ingredients, we can cook more. Just looking up at my notes, I'm such a chatty. Side-to-side communication, super important, I think, with kids. We've been super sick. I can't hear it in my ear still. I'm waiting to hear in my ear. I've been super sick, and so it's hard for me to be sick because I love being productive. I love moving, although I'm working on that as well, right? Because it's like, why am I gotta be so overproductive all the time? And, there's something about, I value my worth in my productivity, but I'm learning to unlearn that because God loves me, if I'm productive or if I'm having a me day sometimes, right? And it's important to do that so I don't burn myself out. But these are some things I'm working on myself to give myself grace on. But it is hard for me to sit still and not do anything. I get excited. I love doing things. And so when I'm sick, it's just tough. Plus, it's like boogies here, boogies there, laundry. I gotta switch my laundry. And so we're getting better. I have a few really great episodes that I'm really excited about. We're doing one about the boogies, about covering up our sneezes. I also want to do one we're gonna do a drawing. Do I have a board? Yeah. We're gonna do a drawing for the kids. So it's going to be super simple. Like, hey, you can follow me drawing. We're going to be like, hey, draw a circle. Now let's draw a square and a triangle. Right? And like, oh, that's so cute. And the sun, we're going to do lines. But what we're actually going to learn is that, like, hey, now that you know how to draw diagonals, this could be a letter A, right? If you learn how to start and stop, you know how to draw, letter K and start and stop there, right? So these are all going to be lines of letters. If you know how to do a circle, you can do the curved letters of C or D or B, right? And so we're going to go from this little drawing to, hey, now you can start drawing little letters. And then I also want to do like a few episodes about learning how to read and including, right, the CVC words, right? Cat, bat, going to the silent E on like cub versus cube or cut versus cute, like we don't hear the E at the end, but it changes the vowel in the middle. And then some digraphs, learn the sh and like all the sounds, and just help our kids learn to read. Because I think, I saw this from a homeschooling mom, and she said, if you can teach your kid how to read, like the faster you, like essentially at that point, you've given them limitless power, right? Because once you know how to read, you can learn about anything. So if you can teach your kid how to read, their possibilities are endless, right? They can learn about everything. They can learn about one thing. They can read about space. They can read about anything. And so I want to focus more on teaching kids how to read and spending some time in the playroom, like doing just smaller episodes, because I always get so excited. I want to do so many things in the episodes, but then it takes me longer to edit them. And I'd love for kids to have more new, fresh, educational content more frequently. And so I'm hoping to go to once a week, we can get a video out just learning something new, whether it's in the playroom or whether it's in the kitchen. I have a lot of experiments I'm excited to do. I want to learn hydraulics in a simple way, like teach hydraulics, because we've been learning that at home, and it's super cool to do, and like kids can soak up and learn so much, right? So let's get them the most out there. I want to do like a little build your own parachute activity for like toys and for Cotton. He gets his own little parachute and fly, and a little zip line activity too that I think will be fun. Again, kids love A to B activities, like, hey, take this ball, transfer it from here to here, take this, put it from here to here, take the puzzle pieces, hide them, find them, and even throwing the ball in, like, hey, throw it in this pot, throw it in the deeper pot, not throw it in the laundry basket. Like, there's so much science in it, right? It's like, how far do you throw? What's your hand-eye coordination on that? Strength, your mobility, right? Problem solving, see where it goes. And I posted one activity about, I think it's like, you can hang a hula hoop and throw the ball into it, but the hula hoop turns, so it makes it really difficult. It's a super fun game. And somebody's like, oh, that's so dumb or something. And I was like, that's essentially basketball. You're putting a ball through a circle, right? Like, somebody can do it as a 2-year-old. Imagine if they keep practicing, right? All of this is a skill, all of this is fun. I get excited about activities because I'm like, kids can learn so much. Oh, you know what I saw that I thought was so interesting? Somebody said, toddlers are like a Google search. And I think this is one of the most true I've ever heard, because when it comes to communicating with them, right, back to the communication, if you search on Google, don't run, you might get images of stop signs and people running. But if you search walking, you're actually gonna get images of walking. And so with same, it's like, if you're talking to your toddler, you gotta pretend you're Google searching and you gotta Google the right thing, right? So it's like, instead of saying don't run, you need to let them know, hey, let's walk. And I think, whoa, that's so spot on, right? So instead of, don't stand on the table, because if you Google search that, you're gonna get pictures of people standing on the table, right? But if you're like, hey, let's sit down, we're all sitting. If you Google people sitting down, you're gonna get people sitting down. I think that's so fascinating, because like, kids are so like literal and analytical and critical thinkers. They're so smart, but And that straightforward communication of what we can do, I think, is so much more open and easier to digest for kids, because we're telling them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this all day long. It's really difficult to hear that all the time. Just like if anybody, for grown-ups, for adults, that would be difficult to hear. But if we just repave that pathway of, hey, let's do this, let's do this. I also like adding the let's to it, because it puts it, and hey, we do this. If we ever have to say no or don't, we try it. Hey, we don't do this. We don't climb on there. We don't stand on the table. But putting a we instead of, hey, don't do that, to let them know, hey, we actually none of that do that. Nobody here, we don't do that. So adding a we and a let's. But I think that's so funny with the search. All right, so thanks for listening. I hope you guys have a really good day, and I'll see you soon. Big love.